Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Hello again, you lovely people, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at the worst games on the Nintendo Gamecube. Now, the Nintendo Gamecube is a fantastic console. However, I think it was really underrated back in the day, and through the eyes of the retro world, it's become an absolute gem. With games like Wind Waker, Smash Bros, Metroid, there truly were some absolute gems for the title. But of course, like all the others, there were some stinkers. So today we're going to be looking at 7 of them. Now, I should always say, this is not the definitive list. This is just 7 I am throwing out into the world, and if you think I've got it wrong, let me know in the comments below. I always respond, whether it's with something sarky or something stupid, I'll always get back to you. And let me know below, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? And let me know if there's ones that you think should be on this list as well, because we can always do a part 2, a part 3, and a part 4. If you want to hear more of me, Retro Wars is a weekly podcast where me and friends will talk about the video games we used to play back when we were kids, and you can find over 150 episodes wherever you get your podcasts from, and I'd love to see it over there and see what you think. If you want to get involved in the show financially, you can do it at patreon.com/Retro Wars. With a $1 each month, you get your own show called DLC, and you can get actively involved in the podcast. And also, final caveat to all this, some of these games are on multiple platforms. I do know that, but that's the era of gaming we're at, where they all start kind of mixing into one. So just be gentle, okay? Be gentle, everyone. Right, let's get into it, shall we? 7 of the worst Nintendo GameCube games ever made. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, when Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was released on the GameCube in 2005, expectations weren't sky high, but there was hope it would capture some of the film's quirky charm. To be honest, I would have never released it. Who the absolute fudge wants to play Charlie and Chocolate Factory? But whatever. It was developed by High Voltage Studios and published by 2K Games and based around Tim Burton's movie adaptation. Sadly, rather than deliver a golden ticket to imaginative gameplay, it ended up being a dull, uninspired cash-in. It's not uncommon for movie tie-ins to struggle, but this one managed to feel particularly disconnected from the magic of its source material. To be honest, the game looked dated at launch. Character models were stiff and angular, with Willy Wonka's likeness being particularly jarring, likely due to licensing limitations around Johnny Depp's face. The environments were overly simplistic, with flat textures and really terrible colours that made this meant-to-be fantastic chocolate factory feel like a warehouse in a wonderland. It was like that thing in Scotland when they basically said, come back to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and it just looked horrific. There were moments to be usually unique, like the Chocolate River or Nut Room, but they were hampered by technical limitations and poor design choices. The game does try and follow the film's plot loosely, but has to take several liberties to stretch into a full game. You play as Charlie, tasked with helping Wonka restore order to the factory after the kids misbehave, which never really happened in the film, never really happened in the book, but oh well, it's a video game, gotta stretch this shit out. The game awkwardly shoehorns in fetch quests and puzzles that don't tie in with any of the source material. I don't think at any point did Willy Wonka say, do us a favour Charlie, it's time for a fetch quest. Shocking. But the gameplay is where Charlie and Chocolate Factory truly melts down. Most of your time is spent wandering around lifeless environments, directing Oompa Loompas to perform basic tasks like building ladders or fixing machinery. To be honest, I'd have the Oompa Loompas try and make some weapons for me, because that'd be pretty cool to go around Chocolate Factory and take it over by force. Critically, the game was panned across the board. Reviewers pointed out its dull gameplay, uninspired visuals, and failure to appeal to either fans of the movie or younger gamers. It scored poorly on aggregate sites, with many reviews labelling it not just a bad adaptation, but just a bad game in general. Even children, the target audience, found the game boring and confusing. Yeah, because why would you want to play this? There's Mario, there's Sonic. Over time, Charlie and Chocolate Factory has gained a reputation as one of the worst licensed games of its era. Unlike other poorly received games that find second life as a cult classic or as a guilty pleasure, this one's just forgotten, because it's dog shit. In terms of legacy, it probably just cemented the fact that just make a movie tie-in and it's probably going to be garbage. Don't rush it, because no one's going to want to play it. Batman Dark Tomorrow. Now, Batman Dark Tomorrow was supposed to be the definitive Batman game before Arkham Asylum came along and just basically took all over. Developed by Kemco, it aimed to deliver a dark, gritty adventure rooted in the DC universe. The team hyped up the involvement of comic book writers in the original story that tapped into Batman's detective roots. When it released in 2003, the only thing dark about this game was its quality. It was an unplayable mess wrapped in a bat-shaped cowl. See what I did there? Visually, the game did have a murky and bland aesthetic, but the environments were dimly lit in an attempt to be atmospheric, but this just meant poor visibility and repetitive textures. See, you can do a video game with poor lighting, but you've got to make sure all the enemies themselves have the lighting, because otherwise you can't see what the fuck you're doing. Character models were awkwardly animated, Batman himself lumbering around like he had steel rods in his limbs, which really isn't what it's meant to be, because Batman is kind of like a ninja. Gotham City itself felt lifeless, empty and disjointed, and a shadow of its brooding potential. The story did have some potential, to be honest. It drew on the Batman's comic book roots with the appearance of Ra's al Ghul and Commissioner Gordon, but its presentation was jarring and incomplete. Critical cutscenes were missing unless the player unlocked the true ending, which may have never been sought due to the game's unbearable difficulty. Without this context, the plot just seemed abrupt and incoherent, with long stretches of meaningless backtracking and no payoff. And the control, this is where it really falls down. Batman feels sluggish and unresponsive, and the combat is as primitive as get. Punch, kick, repeat, and that's about it. The grappling and stealth mechanics are present in theory, but the broken execution. The stealth sequences are often failed due to buggy AI or awkward design, and that's the real problem, because then a few years later you get Arkham Asylum, which was one of the best superhero games ever made, if not the best Batman game ever made. I know there's Arkham City as well, but you know what I mean. They must have cried when they saw this and gone, haha, we can make such a better game. Critics really didn't hold back on this either. With scores in the 2s and the 3s out of 10, it was one of the worst reviewed Gamecube titles. Fans were especially disappointed, as Batman deserves better, and this game managed to do a disservice at every turn. It's a textbook example of how ambition without execution results in failure. On reflection though, maybe we needed this to get the lowest point of all our thoughts when it comes to Batman game, because thankfully Arkham Asylum put him on a pedestal I never want to take him down from. Bad Boys Miami Takedown. Now, Bad Boys Miami Takedown came out a full year after the film Bad Boys 2, and still managed to feel rushed. Developed by Blitz Game and published by Empire Interactive, this third-person shooter was based loosely on the buddy cop action movie, but instead of delivering the thrilling, over-the-top energy of its cinematic counterpart, it gave players an experience that was laughably generic and painfully dull. Graphically, the game was subpar even by 2004 standards. Character models were blocky and barely resembled Will Smith or Martin Lawrence. The environments were absolutely crap with no real sense of place. Gunfire effects looked and sounded like toys, pew 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 pew, and explosions were underwhelming. It lacked that high-octane visuals you expect from a game based on a blockbuster action film. The story itself is shallow and almost feels like an afterthought. It follows Mike and Marcus investigating a drug ring in Miami, but the plot unfolds through generic cutscenes filled with bad one-liners and wooden performances. The chemistry between the main lead characters, one of the film's main selling points, is completely absent. It's a case of a licensed game failing to understand what makes its source material appeal in the first place, because the Bad Boy films are great, because Marcus and Mike literally rip the piss out of each other, and that's what makes half the films. Gameplay is where we kind of go off a cliff. It's meant to be a cover-based shooter without functioning cover mechanics. Yay! The movement's stiff and aiming is slow and unresponsive, because that's exactly what you need. Health pickups and ammo are scarce in all the wrong places, and the checkpoint system is brutal. That's also all you need. You need a great checkpoint system to just screw you right in the bottom. Critics and players ripped it apart, you think? It was labelled a cash grab and reviewers mocked its bugs, dull gameplay and poor presentation. Some called it one of the worst licensed shooters of its generation. And despite the popularity of the film, the game sold poorly and quickly vanished from shelves. It does serve as a reminder that no matter how successful a movie is, the game version has to be able to stand on its own. And this one simply couldn't. Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. If there was ever a superhero game that sunk before it even swam, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis it would be. Released in 2003 and developed by Lucky Chicken Games, this title is meant to capitalise on DC's underwater hero. Although, again, who wants to use Aquaman? Who wants to use Aquaman? But due to the game's lackluster execution and technical limitations, it turned Aquaman's oceanic world into a barren wasteland of boredom and frustration. Visually, yeah, Battle for Atlantis is as empty as the ocean it takes place in. The underwater cityscapes are devoid of any detail, consisting of bland textures, repetitive scenery, and a foggy blue haze, oh you'll love that blue haze, that masks the true distance. Character models were blocky and lifeless, with Aquaman just looking like a generic action figure rather than the king of Atlantis. The story is... I don't know. It does attempt to pull from the comic books involving Black Manta and Atlantean Civil War, but the narrative is delivered through static comic panels and lack voice acting or movement, which is... no, you have no excuse these days. These cutscenes feel like disconnected from the gameplay and fail to give any emotional weight to Aquaman's mission. The result is a campaign that just kind of feels pointless from start to finish. Gameplay is the main biggest fault here. Players control Aquaman as he swims through large, empty underwater zones, engaging in combat that amounts to spamming the same punches and kicks. Movement sluggish and targeting is a nightmare, and mission objectives are either too vague or just boring and repetitive. There's no sense of progress here, and no reward for completing the levels aside from just getting more of the same. Now, you think, the guy has a trident, but it's barely useful. Enemies are just defeated through mindless brawling, and enemy types just feel the same. Just stab them. Just stab them with the trident. That's all you should do. Stab death, stab dead. Like, literally, through the head, they're done. Like, that'd be brutal. Just seeing Aquaman throwing this thing and just annihilating people. And then sending all the sharks just ever. He should have the literally, like, he should literally be Jinwoo. If you've not seen Solo Leveling, you're not going to want to know what I'm on about. But really, this guy should be the Jinwoo. Literally, he shouldn't have any problems defeating anyone. Reception was predictably terrible. Critics tore the game apart for its empty environments, terrible controls, and the lack of any content. Even Aquaman fans, if there are any, are going to get ripped for that. If you're an Aquaman fan, I'm sorry. Just don't hate me. Even Aquaman fans found little to love. The game became a joke in gaming communities, often cited as one of the worst superhero games ever made. Battle for Atlantis is now probably meme status of a symbol of failed potential and poor game design. It came out at a time when superhero games were still searching for respectability, and titles like this, Batman, and our final game pushed that timeline back for years. If Batman did get his redemption with Arkham Asylum, Aquaman got his with a 2018 movie, but not in gaming. Charlie's Angels. When Charlie's Angels hit the Gamecube in 2003, it brought a new low for beat-em-up games. Developed by Necro Entertainment and basically released on the 2000-2003 films, the game featured the voices, but not the likeness, of Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu. Despite having the name and the Hollywood talent, the game failed on almost every level, becoming infamous as one of the worst licensed games of all time. And I love the Charlie Angels films. I think they're absolute. I hate the remake. Screw that one. I don't like that one. No. But the first two, they were great. They knew exactly what they were. They were good fun. So it should have been a fun game. Nope. Graphically, the game is shockingly poor for a 6th generation console. Everything is quite basic, sparsely populated, and the textures look more appropriate on a PS1. The character animations are laughably bad with robotic movements and stilted cutscenes. All 3 angels look like budget mannequins, and their actions lack any weight or realism. And it's hard to tell if the developers ran out of time or if effort was simply not put in there. The plot does try and follow the structure of the movies, and missions are assigned by Charlie and carried out by the angels, but the story is incoherent and kinda poo. You're chasing down stolen statues, foiling kidnappings, and infiltrating bizarre locations with no cohesive narrative tying anything together. It's kinda how our story goes. You go from point A to point B to point C, all the way through. Not just A, D, F, G, 1, 2, 3, exclamation point. Doesn't work. The cutscenes offer no character development, and the lack of any cinematic flair makes it feel like a parody more than homage. Gameplay is just nothing but dreadful. It's just repetitive beat 'em up where you fight endless waves of enemies who look and behave identically. The combat system is, pretty shallow. Just mash 1 or 2 buttons to punch and kick, and you're pretty much done. The characters don't even have different movesets, meaning your choice of character is totally athletic. And to make it even worse, the collision detection's all over the place, leading to missed hits and this janky movement. The camera, as you expect, is going to be terrible as well. They didn't put any effort into this game. It just poo. Reviews was absolutely shocking with this one, with some scores as low as 1 out of 10 from some outlets. Charlie's Angels was mocked for its lifeless design, poor mechanics, and insulting use of its source material. It should have been fun, but instead it was absolutely shocking. Legacy-wise, the game is a bit of a cult hit, a game so bad that it's occasionally played ironically on YouTube or Twitch. But no one argues for its redemption. We're not going to get one based on the new... Did we get one based on the new film? If we did, I'm sorry. I am sorry for anyone who played it. Send it to me via the post and I'll burn it for you. Shrek Super Party. Shrek Super Party was an attempt to cash in the popularity of party games like Mario Party, using the Shrek license to draw in families and young players. Well, it's not like Shrek's been on this channel before, trying to cash in on something else that worked very well. Developed by Mass Media and published by TDK Mediactive, the game launched in 2002 and quickly became known not for its fun, but its infuriating controls, strange aesthetic, and total lack of balance. From a graphic standpoint, Shrek Super Party is kind of overwhelming. Characters have an off-brand, unsettling look that doesn't really resemble their film's counterparts. They look really weird. I don't know why they decided that was the way they should have gone. Like, there's no story to go with, it's just paper-thin justification for why they get involved in board games. I'm not going to criticize you for that because there's nothing in the Mario games that has a plot. You know, Mario Party, they just kind of get together and have fun. So you don't need a plot for this thing, it's all just have fun. The game board does act as a hub for minigames, much like Mario Party, but that's where the similarities end. The minigames themselves are poorly designed, overly difficult, and simply not fun. Some are based on luck, while others are just broken due to bad hit detection and unclear objectives. And what should be a light-hearted experience becomes a frustrating exercise in trial and error. And that's the problem with these things. Sonic Shuffle, yeah, people were on me said, oh, no, it's actually a really good game. Well, it might be. I thought no. Just because you can make a game like another one, aka Mario Party, you actually got to make it good. You can't just say, oh, it's a Mario Party clone, hope everyone comes to the party. Critically, the game was widely panned, as it should be. It was called lazy, derivative, and a poor excuse for a party game. Reviewers pointed out there were far better alternatives already on the market. Needless to say which ones as you're talking about. As a party game, it failed to be either entertaining or accessible, which is a death sentence for any game. Its legacy is virtually non-existent, and thank God, because Shrek's Party is rarely remembered unless it's an example of a franchise squandered. Well, I suppose the Shrek franchise hasn't really been squandered, it's been used and abused for years for games that are absolute dog poo. Although someone's going to come and say, no, actually you should play this Shrek game, it's really good. It possibly could win Game of the Year one day. But unlike Mario Party, which created fond memories and friendships, sometimes rivalries, let's be honest, and maybe some bleeding, because we did that as well, this game's more likely to end with players putting the controller down out of sheer boredom. And finally, Catwoman. Oh, few games have been universally mocked as Catwoman. Based on the 2004 Halle Berry film developed by E8 and Argonaut Games, it was released on multiple platforms including the Gamecube. Like the movie, the game was a commercial failure and a critical punching bag, cementing itself as one of the worst superhero games ever made. The graphics were shocking. Environments were drab and uninspired and just had dull urban rooftops and interiors that all looked the same. Catwoman's model, look, it was decent at a glance but lacked any detail, but the stupid thing is that she's running around like a cat. Like, that's how she goes on the attack. Humans can't do that. We haven't got the body structure to run around like a cat. Like, you're trying to do Prince of Persia style platforming with the combat and the jumping, but it just doesn't work. It looks stupid. Like, she looks horrific. And a Catwoman can use her whip to swing and disarm enemies or interact with the environment, but it's just terrible. To mention she runs around like a cat. Like, story-wise, the game follows the film, which already had an incoherent plot as it did. But you play as Patient Phillips, who is resurrected by a magical cat and becomes Catwoman to take revenge on a cosmetics company because it's just, why not? Why not? The dialogue is stiff and the cutscenes are poorly directed, offering no emotional connection to the character. Critics demolished Catwoman, giving it some of the lowest scores of the year. It was mocked for its controls, visuals, and terrible adaptation of an already terrible movie. And I'm going to do that, because when I got my Nintendo Gamecube when I started the podcast, Retro Wars, and I was like, oh, I want to get some Gamecube games, I had my mate Nathan, who I play football with, and he said, oh, I've got a Gamecube, you can buy it off me. And I did, and he gave it to me at a very good price. However, inside the console was Catwoman, and he said, oh, you can have that for free, that's fine. Fuck you, Nathan, that game's a piece of dog shit. Literally, if I had known you were giving that for free and making it out that you were doing me a favour, that you were giving him for free, I would have literally shoved that right up your ass. And now I'm in your football team, so I have to be nice to you every week. I could screw this team and just let in goals every week, and I'll blame it on you. I swear by the end of this season, you're going to score a goal, and I'm just suddenly run out of goal and throw that game at you because I would have had it in my sock. It's going to happen at some point, lads. I'm telling you now, I'm going to throw a GameCube game. Will that get me sent off? I don't know. Probably the ref will look at it and go, it is okay, it is Catwoman. And he'll probably send off Nathan instead. That's what happened. That's what should be the correct decision here. Now, as for Legacy, Catwoman remains a punchline, as does Nathan, because I'll probably punch him when I next see him. It's used as a case study in I won't punch him, he's a nice guy, he really is, but screw you. But the game itself is used as a case study in bad adaptation design, and is often compared to the worst entries in superhero gaming history. And as I mentioned before with Aquaman, well, you had a revival in 2018, Batman had Arkham Asylum. You, Catwoman, had nothing. And that's it. That is my list of 7 of the worst games for the Nintendo GameCube. Let me know in the comments below if you think I've got it right or think there's ones I need to be talking about. And if you believe I've deserved it after watching this, then thank you. Please give me a like and a subscribe for more content. I'll see you all in 3 days for another video. And until then, my name's been Danny. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.